Over the last few years, it really seems like Ram has been on a path to self-destruction. First, they raised the prices of their trucks to completely insane levels. Then they got rid of the Hemi V8 and replaced it with a turbo 6-cylinder. And the final nail in the coffin was, I think, when they decided to stop selling the RAM TRX. Not only did they get rid of one of the coolest trucks ever created, they tried to replace it with what they call the RAM RHO, which is basically a turbo 6 version of the RAM TRX. And so far, sales of that RHO have been pretty terrible. In fact, sales across the board for Ram have been so bad that they're laying off thousands of workers and dealerships are in serious trouble. This downward trend for Ram was a huge warning to all of the people who are in charge of this failing American icon. The leadership of the Ram brand could see the writing on the wall, and as of now, they've made a few really big announcements that could possibly turn this sinking ship around. Ram recently announced that they're bringing back the Hemi V8, and despite the initial hype, reactions have been a little bit mixed. You see, there's one glaring issue with the type of Hemi that they released, and Ram fans are a little bit turned off by this Hemi V8 that Ram decided to bring back. In addition to the V8 comeback, Ram also revealed a new warranty program that is one of the longest lasting out of all three major truck brands in the USA. But will these recent announcements at Ram actually make a difference? Can these changes save the Ram brand? I'm really not 100% certain, and let me explain why. Ram is not the only brand that's been kind of a total disaster ever since they decided to get rid of their V8. A lot of truck brands have been slowly moving away from V8 engines in favor of turbo 4-cylinders or turbo straight 6s or V6 engines. And Toyota is one of the brands that come to mind when I think complete failure with this transition. And obviously I'm talking about the new twin turbo 6-cylinder engine that you can get in the newer Tundra. When this engine first came out for the Tundra, a lot of people were praising its power numbers and its fuel efficiency because the outgoing V8 engine, while throaty and torquey, just sucked down that gasoline. I mean, it would get some terrible gas mileage. But the new twin turbo V8 in this was a lot more fuel efficient and just drove so good. However, those good reports on it quickly changed when the engines in the new Tundras just started failing. Now, to Toyota's credit, they really worked hard to get this issue solved, and instead of just pushing it aside or doing a small fix and sending someone on their way to where something might happen again, Toyota actually replaced every engine in every truck as long as you brought it into them. And then they went one step further and of course repaired that problem in the newer 25 models. So that engine issue is pretty much done and completely solved. So while they did have some hiccups, they actually did a really good job taking care of it, fixing the problem, and making these Toyota trucks almost as reliable as they used to be. And I say almost as reliable as they used to be, and that's for one big reason. The outgoing Tundra, like this one here, had the iForce 5.7 liter V8s, and these are known as the million-mile engine. Those engines, those old V8 engines, could go 1,000,000 miles without being rebuilt as long as you just took care of the routine maintenance, and really that's all you had to do. But I'm pretty sure going 1,000,000 miles on any of these modern twin turbo engines is more than likely going to be impossible, and at this point only time will tell. Now, while Toyota's transition from the V8 to the twin turbo engine was a little bit rocky, there's another brand that did this transition, I'd say better than Ram and also better than Toyota, and that would be Ford. Now, Ford's transition from V8 to V6 with the twin turbos has been a little bit smoother than other brands, especially like Toyota, and there's a few reasons for that. So Ford decided, instead of doing like Toyota, Toyota just went straight up, no V8, only twin turbo 6-cylinder option, and that backfired on them, as you saw from what I just said. But Ford decided to take a little bit different of approach. Instead of just getting rid of their V8 instantly because they knew there would be some repercussions and people would be mad, they decided that they were going to start by giving people the option. And let me show you what that option looks like. And customers should have options. They should have the option of a V8 or a 6 and not be forced into a transition that just backfires in a really bad way. So as you can see here, we have an entire row of F-150s, and actually they have so many F-150s here, it's double stacked, as you can see. If I walk through here, there's a whole nother row and it's pretty much down as far as the eye can see. I mean, this is a pretty huge dealership, probably one of the biggest Ford dealerships in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This one's in Plano. And so with that options, unlike Toyota, the transition wasn't as big of a disaster as it was for them. So as an example, this is a King Ranch trim level, and be prepared to be blown away because it's going to be a little bit expensive. King Ranch is one of the highest trim levels that you get on one of these F-150s. And let me just squeeze in here. They are packed in tight. This is a 2025 F-150 4x4 with the 10-speed auto. And as you can see here, it has a 3.5 liter V6 EcoBoost engine and all the leather bits, fancy interior, everything you would get from a King Ranch. And that screen actually is that's pretty massive. But how much does a King Ranch cost? $79,230. But as I'm looking through the options, because it comes with the 3.5 liter EcoBoost, there's no charge for it. Or no extra charge, at least. Like, you know, some companies will charge extra for different engine and transmission options, but the engine just is there. But what about a V8 version? Well, they do have a V8 one back here, and I want to see if they charge you to get the V8 engine. And you might be a little shocked by what I'm just seeing on the window sticker here, and maybe you won't be shocked by it. So it's a 2025 with the 5 liter V8 engine. This is one of the lower trim levels. It is an XLT, so don't expect this to be as much as the King Ranch, but it's still probably going to be more than you would expect. And an interesting thing, this is actually a two-wheel drive, not a four-wheel drive. There's a guy mowing. He's having a good time in this summer Texas heat. So for the 5 liter Coyote, two-wheel drive, basic cloth interior, and a smaller screen than the King Ranch, you're looking at $60,325. And the shocker here is they do charge you to get the V8 engine. They charge you $2,060 for a V8 engine. So you can get the V8 still in an F-150, but it's gonna cost you just over $2,000 to get a V8 engine. My sister's here with me right now. She said there's another V8 over here. Oh, this is a Lariat. Let's see what a Lariat with the V8 costs. And this is actually an interesting color. It's like a grayish with a brown hue. I don't know. I think it might be Leadfoot gray. Marsh gray. So it is a little bit green. Okay, this is interesting on this window sticker. It actually says standard equipment included at no charge. It is the 5 liter V8 engine. It is a 2025 with four-wheel drive. And looking at the sticker, I think because it's a Lariat, it considers the V8 engine a standard option because it's not charging you $2,000. As you can see, there's nothing here, but it does say equipment group Lariat series 2600. So it's probably wrapped into this package price and not just the V8 price on its own, which it's probably still, you're still paying for it, doesn't matter. But a Lariat is going to run you $69,020 with a Lariat and a V8. Now there are two other vehicles here at Ford that have been having some issues with this transition. So the transition hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows to these turbo engines for Ford, or the other ways they're trying to power their vehicles. The first one is the F-150 Lightning, and this must be a new trim level because it's called the Flash, which I've never heard of before. It must be new for 25. But the F-150 Lightning has been a bit controversial and honestly kind of a huge fail for Ford. They're losing a lot of money in their EV space. Millions and honestly billions of dollars have been lost on this. They're not selling like they thought they would. The initial burst was good, but after a few months, it just dwindled down. And one of the reasons is this Flash edition is $71,115. And people just aren't willing to pay that for an electric truck. All right, so another vehicle at Ford that I think would have been better off with a V8 instead of a turbo 4-cylinder or a turbo 6-cylinder is right here. That would be the Ford Bronco. When these first came out, they were pretty popular, hard to find, and people were literally fighting over them. Dealerships were marking up, but now it's been a couple years and Ford is actually struggling to sell these Broncos, and for a couple reasons. One, the prices have just gone up higher and higher on these Broncos, especially the Bronco Raptor right here. You'll see the price, it's kind of crazy. But even the base price of these Broncos is quite insane. And let me show you an example with this little two-door. I call it a baby Bronco right here. So we got a black two-door, steel wheels, plastic everywhere, basic interior, if you can see that, One day I might get a polarizer. You've been screaming it. I might do it. Still have a backup camera. That's mandated legally anyways at this point. But that's pretty much gonna do it. Little, simple, basic. And a thing to note is the two-door ones only come with the 4-cylinder. You cannot get the 6-cylinder at all. But this little stock base Bronco is gonna run you $41,784 on a vehicle that I think should be 30 grand. I mean, it's about $10,000 overpriced, to be honest. And while it's fine having that little one have a 4-cylinder or even a 6-cylinder, there's one Bronco that needed a V8. I mean, should have had a V8, and that is the Bronco Raptor. We've got this kind of bronzy, glittery one right here, and a nice white one here as well. And the prices of these actually can get crazy. And with the price of this being what it is, they should have put the supercharged Raptor R from the truck into this thing. It would have made it so much better, and honestly, probably would have been easier for people to justify the price. Because this bad boy here with the 37s and the pretty paint, and it actually have painted fenders this year. I don't know if you've looked at these at all, but you're gonna get sticker shock. 2025 4-door, 3-liter EcoBoost V6, boo. It's fine, but not as good as it could have been, let's be honest. $95,315. And while that's okay for most of the people who bought these Raptors, it would have been so much more fun if it had the supercharged V8 out of the new Raptor R, which is around $110,000. They could have just added 3 grand and charged 98,000 and put that in there, and it would have been one badass Bronco. Now, with all of that said about Ford, there's one American manufacturer that is still using the V8 engine as their main power plant. Now, when it comes to the transitions from V8 to twin turbo engines, Chevy seems to be taking a similar approach to what Ford is doing, and let me show you. But it's also not without its issues, like anything. They're still giving you engine options, like you can still get their Duramax diesel in a Z71 like this here, or you can still get a Z71 with the 6.2 liter V8 engine, just like this one right here. And with that 6.2, there's a lot of problems with the V8, but we'll go into that a little bit. But along with the V8 and the diesel, you can get their new turbo engine. So as you can see here, this new Trail Boss has their TurboMax turbocharged engine. And I'm wondering how much more the one with the TurboMax might be than the V8 engine over there, because they're the same trim levels otherwise. So let's see how much this one is real quick. 2025 Trail Boss 4-wheel drive, TurboMax engine with the 8-speed auto. You're looking at $59,645. No leather seats, but on the trail you don't really need leather seats, and that's okay. But as you can see, that starts a little bit lower than what the mid to higher trim level Rams start at, because you're looking at 74,000 in those Rams. But what about the V8? So that was 59, and this V8 right here, this is actually a lot more. This is a Silverado Trail Boss. Same interior trim, which I find a bit interesting. The wheels look the same and everything. We're actually looking at $66,130. Here's where a big chunk of that price difference and that price jump comes in. Because it's not their new engine that they're promoting in the TurboMax, you have to pay $3,890 to get the 6.2 liter Ecotec V8 engine, and a few other miscellaneous things like exhaust and stuff. But the bulk, almost $4,000 of that, is the V8 engine. So at Chevy, you can still get a V8 in your truck, but you're gonna have to pay a crap ton of money to get that. Unlike Ford, it was a $2,000 option. That's almost double to get a V8 in your Chevy, which kind of blows my mind a little bit. I really didn't expect that. Here's another TurboMax right here in a lower trim level Chevy. Obviously, it's probably going to be cheaper. $50,145. And I think that's as low as it goes for the 4-door trucks, because it doesn't get more basic than that, really. But now we got to go into the problems with the 6.2 and everything that has a 6.2. This isn't their first issues with the V8. The other V8 engines have had top-end problems that have caused it to fail, and a lot of it has to do with the cylinder deactivation. And then on the 6.2 liters that are in this truck right here, they're having rod bearing failure that gets thrown around and boom, catastrophic into the motor. And the way they're fixing that is either replacing the engine, or if your engine still seems to be good, putting a thicker weight oil And honestly, that's just a temporary fix that probably just extends it past the life of your warranty, and then at that point it's not their problem. But as you can see, the transition to these twin turbo engines, it comes at a cost for people who still want the V8. It's way more expensive, and it's actually an option that costs you a lot of money. Now, with all that said, that brings us full circle back to RAM and their struggles with, one, getting rid of the Hemi V8, killing sales, raising prices, and doing all kinds of things that most of their buyers weren't interested in. And then them basically admitting that they had made a mistake, and now they're bringing back the Hemi V8. Along with getting rid of the Hemi V8, they killed off that TRX, and let me explain why that was really a bad move. This TRX is probably one of the best trucks that have ever been made, and I'm talking about in the history of all trucks. And unfortunately, it's a shame that they replaced this beast with something that looks the same, but it's obviously not the same. And that's that RAM RHO that I've been talking about with the 6-cylinder turbo engine. And I don't care if the price is a little bit lower or it's got close to the same power. It's not even close, actually. But nothing can beat the excitement you get from the torque of the V8, the sound that comes out of these tailpipes, and just the general joy that driving a truck like this with the Hemi V8 brings. I mean, just hearing that supercharger whine. One of my cousins, Jeff, has a blue one, and I got to ride in it, and I drove it a little bit a few months back, and it was one of the funnest machines that I have ever driven. And at one point, before I really had this channel going, I had one of these model Ford Raptors, and it was fun and had good power, but you could still feel some of that turbo lag. I didn't really enjoy the sound, and with an aftermarket exhaust, it honestly sounds even worse. It's like raspy and sounds like, dare I say, a Honda Civic. But obviously Ford fixed that by coming out with the Raptor R. But it's super expensive. And right now, RAM doesn't have a V8 TRX, so they really don't have anything to compete with the Raptor R anymore. Like, Raptor R is just living life on its own. Now, the other thing I mentioned at the beginning of the video was the price going up on these RAM trucks. And as I show you a few of these trucks on the lot, you'll just see how expensive these things have gotten. And of course, they got rid of one of their lowest trim levels, that Warlock. That was honestly a pretty good V8 truck bargain, but now there's really not that many bargains anymore around here, and prices are so high that most dealerships have to give about $10,000 off MSRP to get rid of any of these trucks. Let me show you. We're in Texas, so obviously I'm going to show you this RAM Lone Star 4x4 right here. And I would consider this one of the lower trim level because it is pretty much 100% cloth inside and has the basic size screen. So the interior is not too crazy, and the wheels are a little more basic. Here's the basic chrome, and these are matte black, which I like better. But you might be surprised by how much this one is. So we got a 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab 4x4, 3-liter Hurricane engine with start-stop, which is terrible. If you don't hate start-stop, something's wrong with you. But this guy with cloth seats is $62,150, and it's not gonna get much lower than that for a full-size 4x4 truck around here. I think I'll show you this SST real quick. This is just a basic SST. Laramie with a little bit of nicer trim level, as you can see, a bigger screen and some leather interior. But this 1500 4x4 Laramie is going to run you $74,255. And it actually gets even crazier. I'll show you one of the more higher end trim levels of a Ram that you can buy. And honestly, I guarantee you some of this pricing is a little bit of corporate greed, a little bit of inflation, and also research and development costs for building a brand new twin turbo engine that they got to wrap into this. So you got all this stuff that they had to spend, and these prices get a little bit crazy. I want to show you this Rebel X. They've got a red one, silver, another red one, and a blue one right here. And I'm pretty sure they're all going to be around the same price. But this is like a higher trim level package. My cousin has one with the V8, which I highly recommend. But this price of this one will blow your mind. And sorry, I'm right next to Interstate 30 here. This is a 1500 Rebel Crew Cab, and again, the 3-liter Hurricane. And it's actually right around the same price as the Laramie at $73,410. And one more thing I want to show you real quick while I'm here. They do have the newer version of the Warlock, but unfortunately, I do not see a price. There is no sticker in the window. I see it in the front window. Pardon the road noise. 1500 Crew Cab, Warlock 4x4, 3-liter Hurricane, $56,600. That's as pretty much as base as you can get, other than like the work truck white steel wheel version, and you're not gonna get much cheaper than that on a full-size Ram truck at all. So prices, still too high, in my opinion. But with showing you all of these with the new 3-liter, I wanna talk about the Hemi coming back, the one big issue with it, and why some people are excited but also a little bit disappointed. 2026 Ram 1500 gets its Hemi back and keeps its 6-cylinder siblings. So as you can see right there for 2026, the Ram 1500 is getting the Hemi V8 back. And there's a few good things about it and also a couple things that are not so great. First of all, if you wanted the Hemi V8 instead of the new Hurricane inline 6, as you can see right here, it's going to cost you an extra $1,200 to get the Hemi V8, which kind of sucks, but it's also the cheapest brand to get a V8 from at this point now, because as you saw, Chevy wanted almost $4,000 for their V8s that are just blowing themselves up. Toyota doesn't have a V8 option anymore in any of their trucks, and Ford's V8 option was around $2,000. So that puts the Hemi V8 and the Ram as the cheapest option that you can get in a V8 truck, which I think is pretty cool. And obviously they brought this back due to customer demand and people just wanting a Hemi, because Ram and Dodge fans just love the Hemi engine, and I can understand why. Now, the only thing that people are really not liking about it is that it's coming with that e-torque system, and a lot of people are just saying that they want simplicity, and an e-torque system does complicate that and is harder to work on. And I do agree, instead of just having a regular normal battery setup, the e-torque system is more complicated, and if any work needs to be done on it, most of the time, more often than not, pretty much you're gonna have to take it into service, and it just makes things harder to work on, which for the dealership, they like that because that makes them more money. But other than that, that's the only thing that people really aren't super excited about, but it did have that e-torque on it before it disappeared, so I guess at this point we just take whatever we can get when it comes to a V8 and a Hemi. And as far as good news for fans of Ram, they made another announcement, which I mentioned in the beginning, and they're going to be giving one of the longest powertrain warranties out of any of the big manufacturers that have pickup trucks. So Ram trucks, including the 1500, 2500, and 3500, and also some of the ProMaster vans, are now going to come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. This warranty covers things like the engine, transmission, transfer case, drive shaft, differentials, and the axles. And right now, that is the best powertrain warranty out of Ford, Chevy, and Ram, and Toyota that you're going to get. So what do you think with Ram bringing back the Hemi V8? Will there be a TRX, first of all? Do you think their TRX will come back? And second of all, does this powertrain warranty also help you in your buying decision if you're choosing between these big automotive manufacturers? Put that down in the comments. By the way, make sure you like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, you better like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow.